Yeah, at the moment, I'm just about to start another round of a course or program I call Becoming Kin. That starts next week. It's a 6-week program. And that is really very much about all the things that we talked about today. This conversation and connection between inner nature, the inner landscape in our bodies, and the outer landscape where we live. Whatever place we live in, there is nature, right? I mean, there are trees, there are insects, there are other beings. Even if we live in the city, there are so many expressions. There's nothing that's not nature, really. And wherever we are, we can find our specific relationship to the elements, for example, or to the beings that also live in that place. So this is really a journey that takes us deeper into the inner landscape and deeper into the outer landscape where we are, to find the medicine, the resources, the inspiration, the next steps that we might be longing for, both in terms of our own personal journey. So maybe where we're at in our lives, maybe we have big questions, or maybe we're stuck on something. Maybe we're in a transition with work or with relationships, or like we're stuck with some pattern that we kind of grappling with and we're not quite sure where to go with it. Could be that, or because, as I said, those two are never separate, the awareness of all that's happening in the world and how that impacts us. It impacts us with all these big emotions that I described earlier, but it also impacts us in the sense of, we don't quite know how to be anymore with this world that's changing so rapidly and dramatically, where we see on a daily basis these big things that we know are telling us there's more ahead in terms of climate, in terms of the changes to the natural world, in terms of the many issues that we're grappling with, around justice and living together peacefully. So this journey is really about both. It's not that we just navel gaze and we go like, oh, in my own life I'm doing this thing and I want some help with it. And it's also not out there now, let's all just focus on fixing things. It's really about this recognition that the two are connected, the inner landscape, the outer landscape, the things that we feel here, the things that we're struggling with here, the things that are going on in the world, and to recognize that in the conversation between the inner and the outer, there can be resource, there can be insight, there can be new perspectives that emerge. So the course happens online in weekly meetings with the other travelers on the journey. And then in between our sessions, there are what I call home play invitations. So it's not homework, because it's really, more playful or less kind of pressured. There are practices, there are inquiries, there are invitations that people can do at home in between the sessions. And then there's some additional reading and viewing that's optional for those people who want to go a bit deeper. I know not everyone likes to read lots of things, also depending on your home language. That might not be something that you want to engage with, but that's available as additional resources. And then there's a space for people to connect with the other companions on the journey, to share, to learn from each other, to ask questions, to exchange experiences. And so we go on this journey together. We look at different aspects of belonging, of kinship with the more than human world, kinship with ourselves, with our own who are we, and who are we in this body, kinship with each other. As we spoke about earlier, it's so important to have good company with all these inquiries, and to look to each other for learning, for new perspectives, for this co-regulation of our nervous systems. And 6 weeks starting next Tuesday evenings, European UK time. This is the third time I'm running this, and it's very interesting to hear from the people who've done it a few times. There's two people who are doing it for the third time, because they found, each time it's different, because each time we're different, each time the surroundings that we step out into are different. The learning never stops. And we use very simple practices that are accessible to anyone, really. You don't need to have any previous experience of movement or engaging with the body. yeah, you don't need to have anything special set up in your life. All that you need is the internet connection and some time each week to step out where you live and to make some time for practice. Yeah, and it's a beautiful journey. I really love this program because yeah, so much magic happens for people, and I don't mean magic in this woo-woo way. I just mean when we pay attention to ourselves, when we pay attention to what's around us, when we slow down, when we really look again at things that we've just taken for granted, there's so much that happens on so many levels, on the level of how we feel, but also on the level of creativity and insight.